Wednesday, so I will be doing story time. I'm outside letting my kids play and enjoy this beautiful weather while I'm off work. So if you hear me have to say something in the background or the video pause, that's the reason why. If I had to check my kids on something, I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, so you already know the deal when it comes to that. That's them right now, matter of fact. So anyway, I'll be telling you story time, and this is going to be about the time that I possibly could have gotten kidnapped, or I could have gotten taken. I don't know what was gonna happen, but you're gonna hear the story. So boom, I was 16 years old. My first job was Applebee's. I was a hostess. So if you don't know what the hostess does, the hostess is the first person you see when you walk in. They greet you, they open the door for you, close the door for you, sometimes like that. And they give you your menus, and then they sit you down. Okay, and then they also clean up the tables. They bust the tables when you are done eating your food. You'll see somebody come out and clean the tables. At Applebee's, they have the hostess do that position too. So that's what I was. So I was working, I believe it was a weekend night or whatever, because I was 16, I was still in high school, so I had to work part-time, around school hours. So I was working at night, and I remember, before that even happens, we had a bartender, right? We're gonna call the bartender Carrie. Carrie called me down one day. She's like, "Hey, Brianna, come here." And this was after she just got out of a phone call. And I'm like, okay. So I went down there. She was like, "Girl, you really need to be careful because you possibly have a stalker." And I'm like, "A stalker? What are you talking about?" She was like, "Somebody called and asked if the tall black girl with the blonde hair was working." So at that time, y'all, I did have some hair dye. I had my hair bleached blonde or whatever, had blonde highlights or whatever, and it was straight. So but anyway, so he called and described me and asked if I was working there or whatever. And she told me, you just need to be careful. And me being 16, I'm not thinking like seriously at all. I'm just thinking it's funny. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe it's one of my friends playing a joke, or something like that. Or maybe it really is one of my friends wanting to hit me up and see me, because I did have friends from high school come down there from time to time. But of course, the logical me now would have been thinking like, they would have just said your name. But I just didn't think too much in that. I was only 16. So anyway, I'm working or whatever, and there's probably about maybe an hour later, about an hour and a half later, after she tells me that, there's this guy. He walks in, right? And he looks to be Middle Eastern or whatever, and about middle-aged. So he walks in and he just stands there as he walks in, and I'm just like, okay, is there something I can help you with, or like, how you doing? He just stands there. Usually people come in and they be like, yeah, I want a seat for 2 or 4, can we sit at the bar, whatever. But no, he just stood there. So I'm like, okay, how can I help you? And he's like, well, what did he say? He was like, he's like, you don't remember me? And I was like, trying to think back, like, do I remember this dude? And then when I thought about it a little bit, I did remember him, because he did come in like that last week, and he just sat by himself at a table. But it was nothing, nothing much that I remember, because a lot of people come into Applebee's, and sit down and eat. So it is what it is. But anyway, so I did remember him. Like, yeah, I remember you came in, like, last week or whatever. Do you want to sit at the same spot? Like, could I, sit you down? And he was like, what are you doing later after work? And I'm just like thinking like, the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean what am I doing? I was like, how old are you? And he was like, he either said he was in his mid-30s or his mid-40s. And I was only 16. And I was like, I'm only 16, right? And he was like, oh no, you look a lot older. And I mean, I do, sometimes, depending on what hairstyle I wear, if I wear some makeup or not, which when I was a teenager, of course, I was trying to look older like a lot of teenage girls do. So like, I have my hair dyed, I wear my little lipstick, and I'm tall. So of course, people, from time to time think I'm older. But, I told him, like, no, I'm only 16. Now, the typical man that would scare them, right? They'd be like, oh, let me back up. I'm not trying to get in trouble. That was not the case with him at all. Like, no. So he was just, like, standing there, and he was like, oh. Then he's like, so what you doing later? Like, that didn't just faze him one bit. I'm like, well, I was like, I have to work. Okay, gotta work. And then I guess that somebody got the memo that he was like a little weird dude or whatever, and somebody told my supervisor. So my supervisor, he this big tall dude or whatever. He came up there and he was like, "Hey," he was like, if you're not eating, you need to leave or whatever." So the guy was like, "All right, I'll leave," and then he wrote his name on his email on a piece of paper and set it down at the hostess table and walked out, right? So you can tell from his name that he was like foreign. You know, you can definitely tell from his name that he was foreign. It's crazy because I don't know where he's from, but his name sound like, I want to say like from Iran or, you know, just, I don't know. I could just, but definitely Middle Eastern. So anyways, I worked my shift or whatever. And then this dude comes back, y'all, and he sits outside of Applebee's on the bench. Like literally just sitting there waiting on me. And you know, my managers, my coworkers, they know what's going on. They're like, "Hey, are you safe? Like, do you need a ride home?" Because usually I would walk to and from work from time to time. If my mom wasn't able to pick me up or if I didn't have somebody to pick me up, you know, I would do that because I was literally right down the street. Like, that walk was nothing for me. So I didn't mind doing that. You know, I was a worker when I was a teenager. I was trying to have my own money. So that's just how I am. But anyway, so I planned on walking that day home. So my coworker, we're just gonna call him Jake, right? So Jake, he's like, he knows what's going on, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you home." And he was like, "I also know a police officer who patrols in the area where you live at." And he was like, I'm gonna have him pull him over for any reason, like just because this dude is on something weird or whatever." And the dude rode down on a motorcycle, y'all. He rode down on a motorcycle. And he was sitting on Applebee's bench waiting for me to get off. It was just so weird. So anyway, we walk out the building. Anyways, we walk out the building, and I'm just like, you know, like, why is this dude walking up to us type stuff? Do he think I'm really about to like hang out with him or what? I don't even know him. He don't know me. So anyway, I get into the car with Jake. We start riding off and to my house, and then he drops me off, and then I leave. Jake literally calls me probably about 2 minutes after I walked into the house. He was like, "I don't want you to freak out, but that motorcycle followed my car." And he was like, so the police officer stopped and pulled him over. And he was like, he had a gun on him. So they took him in because of the complaints and that he had a gun on him. Pause. Okay, pause. First of all, y'all, I'm sorry. I don't know who that is outside. These people, listen, I got some weird like neighbors, so I apologize for those noises in the background. But anyways, so I see now they let me forget where I was at. Okay, yeah, so they pulled him over. He had a gun on him. So pause, right? I'm 16. He's middle-aged. They didn't found out the police station that he's married and everything. What do you want with a 16-year-old girl? Let me rephrase that. What do you want with a 16-year-old black girl? And you're middle-aged, Middle Eastern, married, you know, like, and me and you don't know each other. And we ain't even talked. We didn't said a few words. What could you possibly want with me? And why do you have a gun on you? So there's all kind of thoughts going in my head. Like, I was nervous, I was shaking. I told my mama, I was scared, y'all. Like, I told my mama everything, and my mom's like, "What?" You know, she's freaking. She's like, "I gotta go get me a gun." You know, it was just a lot going on. So I go back into the house or whatever, and luckily, like I said, they took him to the police station. They told him, like, you know, he can't be doing that, whatever. But they can't really, you know, lock him up for riding his motorcycle, because he could have said he knows somebody in the neighborhood, anything. Like, they can't prove that he was like stalking me or following us. They can't prove that. But they did take him back to the office. They told him he needs to go back home. I think they even took his gun. But like I'm saying, y'all, just think like what could have happened to me. Like, if I was by myself, if I was walking home, if he wouldn't even approach me first before, just watched me, and then I just walk home like I usually do, anything could have happened. Because I'm just thinking, like, what do you want with me? You know, like, that is just nuts, y'all. So anyway, what's messed up is, like, when we went back home, I was nervous all night, y'all. I seen this car parked by my mama's house, and my mama lives in a house where it's like, it's a neighborhood, but it's like there's a side street, you know, like a side street is like where nobody else lives, but she lives towards the end of the street, and then there's a side street you can park on. This car parked on the side street and turned the lights off of their car, and they was just sitting there for a while. I'm automatically thinking it's him, so I got nervous. This whole time it wasn't even him. We called the police and everything. They surrounded the car, and this whole time it wasn't even him, y'all. I feel bad because I kind of messed up somebody's little situation. Like, it was this girl in a car with two dudes getting freaky or whatever, like a young girl. She went to my school, and she was in a car getting freaky with two dudes, and I messed up her little groove because I thought it was like my stalker dude. Like, I felt really bad though. So because I didn't want to mess up her groove. She probably got in trouble and everything, y'all. I feel bad. But yeah, I thought it was my stalker dude. I didn't mean to mess up her groove. But anyway, so Applebee's, they changed their policy. The one I worked at, they changed their policy, and they said that nobody can no longer call in and describe somebody or anything. They can't do that no more. So yep, that is my story on how I almost got like either kidnapped, taken, whatever the hell was gonna happen. Okay, that's weird, but I never heard anything since, dude. If he's been stalking or whatever, I don't know. This was so many years ago, but I never heard anything else afterwards. I think that kind of scared him, which it should. But yeah, so y'all be careful out here. Just always watch your surroundings, and that's all I have though for my story time. So if you have any ideas, or if you like that story, you could relate, you know, something crazy happened to you, put it in the comments below if something crazy happened to you. But make sure y'all be careful. I really honestly think that could have been a trafficking situation, because if you don't know, trafficking is really, really high right now, and especially for black women. Trafficking is really high for black women. It's very dangerous right now. So y'all young ladies in general, just be careful, okay? Watch your surroundings. Don't be like me. My mindset was not thinking like nothing was on nothing when she told me that. So yeah, but anyways, y'all have any ideas or whatever, just leave them below. Leave your stories below, but like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you next Wednesday for the next story time.